And I'm Hallie Crawford. We are here to talk about facing the fear of a career transition, because career transition is really stressful for people, understandably, and it can feel intimidating and challenging and lots of other things. So please know that if you're here today, you are not alone. By way of quick introduction, I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author. My company is based in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been coaching since 2002, but we have coaches in different parts of the country. I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And we all absolutely love what we do. We're passionate about helping people find the right career path, make a successful career transition, and make it as smooth as it possibly can be. So if you take a look at this slide here, just one thing I wanted to say before we dive in is I tend to give a lot of advice on these webinars, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So what I would suggest once you get the recording is pick and choose what action steps make the most sense for you, like one or two things that you will work on in the next week. And then you can listen back to the recording later on for your next steps. So write down one or two things that kind of make the most sense for you and your situation. And then you can continue on using the recording as you go. So let's talk first about why we're here in the first place. Career transition can be challenging for anybody at any level, at any phase in their career. We work with people of lots of different ages and hear a lot of different stories about career transition. Normally, when someone contacts us, they will tell us they have been thinking about making a change for at least a year, maybe even 5 years sometimes. And there's so much new technology out there. It can be hard to know what to leverage, and it can feel overwhelming. There's so many different steps that you need to take for your transition that can feel overwhelming too, and it's easy to put it off. Some of our clients will tell us, taking a look at this slide in number 3 bullet point, that they just don't have enough time if they're working full time, and also that they're not always sure how to use their time wisely. And some people will say, understandably, they're not sure when is a good time to make a move. Is it now or later? How long do I need to be at the job that I'm in? All of these different questions that we help people answer. And the other reason why it's challenging on this next slide is there's so many different things to consider when you're thinking about making a change. The economy, whether the industry that you were wanting to get into or are in is thriving or struggling. What's a realistic position for me? Is this an okay time to look, or should I stay put for now? And then finally, what is the right job for me? That's a big consideration too. And 90%, I'll tell you this, that 90% of our clients will tell us when they start working with us, because we ask people this up front, what's your biggest obstacle to success and what stands in your way? Usually, they will usually say it's them. It's not some external thing. Now, of course, we all have external considerations, and sometimes we do have obstacles. Finances, maybe our industry isn't thriving as much and we need to wait like 6 more months to see how things go. Or maybe we need to get a bridge job in between what we're doing now and what we want to be doing. So I'm not discounting external obstacles. Please know that. But the reason why we're here today is because the majority of the time, those external obstacles are things that you can work around, that you need to try to see them as a challenge or problem to solve versus I'm just going to stay put and not make a move. So whether you're in fear mode or impossibility mode can make a huge difference in whether you make a transition in the first place and how successful it is. And what we tell people is several things. It's possible to make a change. It's not overnight, and there is no magic wand. Sorry. But it's possible to make a shift. We've worked with people who have made really big career shifts, all the way to people who have made course corrections and something that was a slight shift, but they're incredibly happy. And we'll talk today about how to know what the right direction is. And here's the deal. If you take a look at this next slide, that it's possible to make a change, yes, but you have to keep in mind, and this is why people avoid it and why we help people with this all the time, is it does require your time. It requires time, effort. It requires you to be patient with the process and work through it methodically, proactively, and assertively. You have to be persistent with your transition. And when you hit a bump in the road, not just give up and go back to the drawing board. And it also requires practicality, that you're realistic and practical about the types of jobs that you can actually get and, work towards. And again, this is all why we are here. We help our clients with all of these elements. And all of these things, just so you know, are worth it to get into a job you truly enjoy. Okay. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about identifying those fears and other things, managing your transition effectively. And we'll talk about implementing how to create that plan, setting up a routine and structure for yourself to make it happen. So first of all, in terms of identify, we want you to start by identifying what your fears or obstacles are, identifying what your brand is too, and identifying these transferable skills. So we'll start with the first piece of this. So step number one, and we actually want you to think about these fears to start to tackle them head on, because they are going to influence every step of the way in terms of your process if you don't. So the first action item is, when you think of career change, what three things come to mind? What words come to mind? What thoughts come to mind? And what feelings come to mind first? And are they positive or negative? Don't overthink this. You want to go with your gut instinct here. Write them down and journal about them for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to take that long. And then identify which fears are irrational fears and which ones are valid. Identify the effect of these fears. How do you behave as a result of them? And what's really interesting is once you start to write down your fears, you can begin to get more objective about them and practical about them as well, which is part of what we love and is so helpful for people, because when you see them in writing, like in black and white in front of you, you can be like, okay, these are things I can tackle and deal with now. These are the things I need to deal with over time, and create and come up with action steps to overcome those and deal with them. Okay. And as part of this, like we said, we want you to understand which are internal obstacles and which are external obstacles. And let's look at that on this next slide. The internal obstacles we find can be most common for our clients are things like negative thinking, lack of confidence, listening to naysayers, like people in their life that are fearful and kind of, fanning the flames of these fears. And in some cases, they'll admit that, you know what, I'm actually not as committed to this as I could be, and I need to figure out how to get more committed. These external concerns can be compensation concerns, making sure that when you make a shift, you're still making the same amount of money. You don't have to take a huge step back. Another common concern or obstacle is whether you have the transferable skills and whether you can get this new position, it's realistic for you, or if you need a bridge job in between the two. So first action step that we would like you to take out your pen and paper and write down, or put it on your phone, whatever's best for you, is write down, what is your greatest fear right now? Is it financial? Is it just job searching in general? It's not most people's favorite thing to do. Is it a tough economy, or is it something else? So write down the top one, and then I invite you to work on the rest as homework tonight. Some people will tell us that they suffer from the imposter syndrome, and this is why they don't make a career transition or are afraid to work towards it. The imposter syndrome is a phenomenon, so to speak, or situation where people are unable to internalize their accomplishments. Like they're unable to say, yeah, I deserve the success I've had. It's harder for them to own their accomplishments. In some more extreme cases, they might be convinced they're frauds and don't deserve the success that they've achieved. And in other cases, they might assume it's a luck or a lucky break, I should say, rather than talent that got them to where they are. So they discount what their successes and their accomplishments are. And too often people will just assume, well, everyone else is good at this, so it's not that big of a deal, like why am I, thinking I'm great at something? So you need to notice this too, because a lot of people, 2 out of 5 successful people, yes, successful people consider themselves frauds. And status or studies have shown and stats show that in some cases, 70% of people feel like imposters at one time or another. The imposter syndrome is not something that you may suffer from all the time. It can ebb and flow situationally and depending on where you are in your life and career. But this is one of the obstacles that comes up for people. So several things that we would recommend to help you start to manage these obstacles and face these fears are a couple things listed on this slide. So if we look at the right-hand side, rational feels versus irrational fears. And if your fears, the ones are rational, like, it's financial, or I'm not qualified for this job, or I don't have an MBA or the education required, or whatever it is, what we want you to do for that is make a plan for how to tackle it. Is it a plan for managing your finances? Is it getting like a side gig? Is it getting a bridge job in between that will help move you towards the goal or the job that you want to move towards? For those irrational fears, there are lots of things you can do. You can talk back to them. You can push them aside. You can just flat ignore them and go do something else and distract yourself. We'll talk more about these negative thoughts here on the next slide and get more back to the irrational fears a little bit more. But the other things that you can do is get support with these concerns and fears and with your transition overall. Sometimes we need to turn off the news and watch it a little bit less if we're concerned about the economy. Create positive affirmations that you post on your bathroom mirror and include managing fears and concerns into your plan. So just don't write a career transition plan and say, okay, these are the 10 things I need to do. And then you don't do them because you procrastinate or there's fears or whatever. Add as part of that plan. And the first thing that you need to do, what am I going to do about these fears and concerns, and how am I going to get support there? And there's a great quote from Tiger Woods on the left-hand side there. You can also use not just positive affirmations that you've written, but also inspirational quotes that help keep you going, and post those on your bathroom mirror or on your desk at work. And as part of this managing negative thinking thing, we work with our clients a lot on this concept called gremlins, which comes from the book that's listed on this slide here, Taming Your Gremlin. This is a really inexpensive book that a lot of our clients will buy, and they love it. It helps you more proactively and assertively manage your negative thinking. And the basic steps in this book are: you identify what those negative thoughts are. You talk back to them in order to shut them up. You set a time to talk back to or talk with that gremlin later. In some cases, some of our clients will be like, no, I sent it on a vacation, so it's gone. Give it a long spreadsheet to work on or something big to do. Push it aside or go do something else. But the bottom line is, what we find with our clients is that as soon as you start to, just this first step of identifying what these negative thoughts are, it starts to take away its power. So it helps just knowing that this is a thing, that we want you to be more objective about it in order to try to manage them better. That actually takes away its power in the first place. So identifying these negative thoughts and kind of noticing for yourself how much time you spend listening to these negative thoughts, or how often they come up for you, and those trends and those themes, is a really big deal. We had a client, Beth, who was in Atlanta at the time, moved to Chicago. She had been wanting to make a career transition for at least 5 years. She was very successful in her career at a large Fortune 500 organization, but she actually didn't have a college degree, and that had always kind of held her back. It was a fear that she had in her head that caused her to have imposter syndrome. She always assumed that, well, I just had really nice bosses and they, let me move up or whatever it is, instead of owning her accomplishments. We had Beth do the things that we just talked about in the last slide, but also some items from this slide too. So one of the things we would recommend on the left-hand side too because this can help you with understanding what your transferable strengths are to move to the next job, but also build your confidence and help you deal with your fears, is interviewing other people about your strengths, friends and family members, 3 to 5 people, male, female, mix of people from work, personal. Ask them what they see are your top strengths. We talked already about your affirmations on your bathroom mirror. Another thing that we had Beth do is write down all of her accomplishments since childhood. We also had her take small risks at work every day to kind of push herself out of her comfort zone, speak up more in meetings, work on owning her, success and confidence. And she also worked on her physical body position at work, so to speak. Like, how was she sitting during meetings, during conference calls, etc., in order to boost her confidence more? And guess what? With Beth, she actually, through working with us, was able to identify the right next path for her. And she interviewed for a job that was in Chicago. Remember, she was in Atlanta. She secured that new position, and it was such a big promotion for her that she moved her whole family up there, kids, husband, everything else. And she was so incredibly proud, thrilled, etc. So you just have to get out of your own way 9 times out of 10, I promise. With your external obstacles, like we said, we can't be impractical and just ignore those. So some of the things that we would invite you to pay attention to with your external obstacles is read the room of your organization and industry. How are things going? Is this a good time to make a move? And if it's not, like if your industry, let's say, is struggling a little bit, maybe it is okay to make a move, but you have to say to yourself, okay, I may not get more money. I may need to make more of a lateral move. And that's just how the economy is right now. The second thing you can do is consider what else could improve your situation. If you can't make a transition right now, if you need to wait like 6 months to make a change or work on that, would more flex time make you feel better? A title change? Is it time for a promotion? Different, working on a different project, managing your time differently, reconnecting or getting more connected with your coworkers. When we work with our clients on their career values and help them make changes even right now where they are in order to be happier, 9 times out of 10, they start to feel better. Every once in a while, people will be like, oh, maybe I can stay where I am. Usually they do not in the long run. But these like interim things can actually make a really big difference and help ease your transition and give you a little bit more flex time with your plan too. And then finally, the third item on this slide in terms of external obstacles, think about what the most realistic thing for you to do is right now. If a big change is not in the cards, would it make sense to stay doing something similar to what you are doing and transition into another organization, or maybe the same thing within a different industry, but still within the same role? Then you might, stay there for a year or two while you're getting additional education in order to then move to the next step. Okay. So in some cases at the very bottom here, we understand that people might have to sit tight a little bit. And this is what we help them plan for, to figure out what's the right next move for me, what's the right time frame, and how do I make this happen? And then we help them evaluate, okay, what is the right time and what we need to do. As part of getting practical, you're interviewing other people, like we said, which is also listed on this next slide. We want you to identify and get really, really clear about your top 5 transferable skills. Interview other people, review your resume with us. We can help you identify what those are. Analyze job postings and compare them so that you're starting to see what those themes are between the different job descriptions and what those requirements are. Then, how do you match up? What are your transferable skills? What are the things, or how are you qualified for these? And what are the areas where you may not be as qualified, where you need to do a little bit of work? And this is what we help people with. As part of understanding your top transferable skills, this is a really great leadership skills wheel that we use with our clients. It's from Development Dimensions International. And if you use this in order to assess what some of your soft skills are, your leadership strengths are, in some cases, when you're making a career transition, you need to lean a little bit more on these and say, here's why I know I can do this job, because I have these leadership skills, these soft skills. So rank yourself using this. And we also love it when our clients will ask other people to rank them as well, because then you can get that really good objective opinion. Let's talk next about your brand, because we're leading into that. When you're thinking about your transferable skills, you're interviewing other people, you're identifying your leadership strengths. This is all starting to lead you to face the fear of transition by saying, here's how I'm qualified, and boosting my confidence to then say, I know that I can get something else, and here's why. So in addition to the items on the left-hand side of the slide, we want you to also take a moment to journal about the value that you have provided to organizations, to your clients and customers over the past, several years, including from the beginning of your career. Right down to the results you've achieved for your clients, customers, and organizations. What are like the top 5 things that you're most proud of as it relates to your career trajectory so far? Do a StrengthsFinder session with us. We've got a session that we assess people's StrengthsFinder assessment results with them. You purchase the assessment with us. We have an hour, or you can do a half hour to review your StrengthsFinder results to help you understand what are transferable and what this means for your next step. And then as part of this is what we help people with all the time, obviously, is branding themselves effectively so that they can get and make that next move and get that next job. When you're working on your brand, obviously, you want to work on your resume as well as your LinkedIn profile. We want you to work on branding your LinkedIn profile by leveraging the right number of characters in your header, by creating a branded banner. We offer this service also with search engine optimization for your LinkedIn. You've got to have the right keywords on your resume and LinkedIn. Feel free to email us. You can reply to any of the emails we've sent you, and we will get the email, and we'll send you more information about these resume and LinkedIn services if you need it. And if you feel like or know anyone that needs some career coaching, we would be more than happy to help. We love what we do. We've been doing this since 2002, so it's a long time. We always offer a free consult to anyone who's interested in our services. You can email us, as I said a moment ago, but also in the chat box is a link where you can just go right to it right now to schedule a consult with us to learn more about what we do and how we can help. Now, as part of your career transition, we talked a lot about the fears already because that's the focus of today. But when you're working on managing your transition and starting to work through it, make sure that you get support and stay connected with the outside world. Too often people get freaked out. They're fearful about their change and their transition. And sometimes if you're like me, you kind of start to go into your shell a little bit. And we want you to make sure that you schedule lunches and coffee chats and times with friends, family, supportive people, coworkers, whoever is appropriate, so that you make sure you're continuing to put yourself out there and getting that support. Right now, when you're thinking about a career transition, is a great time to start expanding your network. Start with people you know, and then start to branch out to university alumni, to thought leaders. We want you to get to that 500 plus number of connections. That's kind of a magic number on LinkedIn. And there's places where people hear like suggestions of people we would suggest, like literally go through your phone and connect with all of the people in your phone on LinkedIn as one possible starting point. And you could write that down as an action step. As part of managing your transition, leverage your support system. Like why Weight Watchers groups, for example, exist. It's because people who get support and are doing or working on a goal with the help of other people, they are more successful than people who do not do that. And obviously that's why we're here. So identify someone who can help you with your goals. A mentor within or outside of your organization, especially if you're making a transition, it's probably going to be someone outside of your organization. Leverage a career coach like us. Regardless of what you do, set up some regular meetings with them. So another thing I'd love for you to write down right now, if you again get out your pen and paper, your phone, etc., is write down one person whether it's us and speaking with us or a friend or family member, one person that you feel can help you with your career transition in terms of support, advice, being a cheerleader, all of that other good stuff. Now, when you're managing your transition and starting to work on it, you need to make sure that you're as targeted as possible with your search. Establish those clear goals. What are the companies that you want to target, job titles or industries? What's a timeline that's realistic for me to make this happen? There's a really depressing statistic, I'll be honest with you, if you search for how long does a job take. Sometimes you'll get the answer online of it's 1 month of searching for every 10K. What we tell our clients is don't let that freak you out, because that can mean a job search can take a really long time for some people. We would say cut that in about half, give or take. And then when you're working with us, what we find is then you half that again, and it's that much faster. So the bottom line here is not to freak you out about it, but for you to understand that it does take time to make a change. Know that it's not going to happen overnight. Be realistic. And when you're establishing your clear goals, leverage our career model to help you brainstorm career options. What's the right next step for you? Are you pursuing the right things with your current ideas? This career model is something I developed when I first started coaching about 20 plus years ago. We want you to consider all of these components to our ideal career model in order to know the right career path to take. You cannot skip one, because if you do, you could end up on the wrong track. If you don't know what the next right job is for you, contact us. That's what we do all day, every day, is help people define their direction and then make it a reality, and not waste time in a job that isn't the right fit. And finally, before our last few minutes before we close today, step number 3, obviously, is to implement your transition. You need to have a routine. You need to have a schedule. Make a plan for, what your job search schedule or transition plan is going to be. How many hours are you going to work on this a day and a week? Are you going to spend some time on the weekend? Identify where and if you need to enhance your skill set. Do you need to take some classes? Do you need to conduct informational interviews with people who are in the roles that you'd like to be in order to learn more about what those are like and how you can get into them? This is another way you can leverage LinkedIn, is research LinkedIn profiles of people that are doing the things that you are interested in, so that you can get a sense of what qualifications do I need to have. We want you to include in your plan milestones and goals, how to address those obstacles, when and how you're going to leverage your support network, coursework if needed, and also networking. Establish 30, 60, 90-day goals. And you even want to look just past 3 to 6 months out as well, and work backwards with your plan. The people we find are the most effective in making their transition happen smoothly and as quickly as possible is the people that have very tangible weekly and daily goals, a number of networking connections, a number of job boards they're going to visit, and applications they're going to put out there. They're always going to be checking their LinkedIn messages, etc. So you want to have daily and weekly goals for yourself and a routine and schedule. And this is what we help clients with all the time, is to say, okay, I want to have X number of informational interviews this week, or every single week. And that means I have to reach out to X number of people every single day. Okay. So create that plan so that you get into, it's almost like a routine and schedule with this, so that you barely notice those fears anymore, that you're just cranking along and those fears aren't even at play. This just becomes kind of second nature for you. So we would love it if before we go today, and as a reminder, you will get the recording automatically. So keep an eye on your email for that. It should come to you within the next 30 minutes. We would love it if you would write down action steps. It could be, I need to identify my fears. I'm kind of at the beginning here. Another one could be, I'm at the point of interviewing other people to identify my strengths. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are so successful with our clients and we love what we do. It does take time and effort. Like we said, it's not a magic wand, but our clients are able to find jobs that they truly love if they just stick with it. Thank you so much for being here today. We greatly appreciate your time and hope this was helpful for you as a starting point. Have a great rest of the week and weekend, and we look forward to talking with you either in a consult or during our next